much as we value the Prickly Peter collection, Philippa, you have been writing them for a number of years now, and we did wonder, for children of today, if he isn't getting a little bit, old-fashioned?
Old-fashioned? What do you mean? If you think Prickly Peter's old-fashioned, what about Noddy? The last time I saw anyone with a bell on his hat, he was Morris dancing.
Well, maybe a little on the one note, then. He is something of a one-man band.
No, he's not. There's lots of other characters in the stories. There's Squirmy Wormy and Phoebe Fox. Even Bertie Badger's starting to get fan mail now, and he only comes out at night.
Well, we may find it hard to maintain your current royalty level in the present state of the market, that's all.
I see. Well, with the greatest of respect, Heather, I don't think you're particularly well qualified to be any sort of judge of literature anymore.
But I'm a publisher, Philippa.
There you are, then. Shall you get the bill?
Afternoon, Mrs. Troy.
Hello, Stephen.
Lovely afternoon.
Says who?
Nice lunch?
It was all right till I ate it. Where are my briefs?
You haven't got any.
Why not?
Nobody wants you.
Yes, they do. They just think I'm too grand.
Probably.
Well, I shall go and do some other work then, and I don't want to be disturbed.
Oh, I don't think there's much chance of that, Mrs. Troy. And don't forget, you still haven't paid me for those sandwiches.
Don't worry, I won't let you forget.
What? Hello, Susan. Lovely day.
Oh, glad you think so.
Bouncy Brian the kangaroo, Smelly Sydney the slug, Ernest the earwig. No.
Penny for them, or is that too cheap?
George Stagg.
Yeah, I sneaked in. I hope you don't mind.
Not at all.
Wouldn't get many of your thoughts for a penny, eh, Mrs. Troy? Here. Expensive brain like yours.
Here, steal a seat.
You sure I'm not...
Not at all. Always time for the regulars. So, what are you doing now?
Going straight, unfortunately.
Oh, where are you doing that?
Oh, distribution, retailing, that sort of thing. I've gone all respectable, look. Checkbook, check card, cash card, credit card.
Wow, George, man with a bank account. That's a bit law-abiding. You'll be driving on the left-hand side of the road next.
Yeah. You know, when I went in to open my account, I realised it was the first time in my life I've ever been in a bank during opening hours.
Probably the first time you'd ever been in without a pair of tights on your head. How's Yvonne? She must be glad you're out after all the waiting.
Yeah. We're divorced, actually.
Oh, I am sorry.
She moved in with my probation officer. Oh, and I bumped into Mickey Royce. Remember him? You prosecuted him on the sawn-off charges, remember?
Yes, went down for 7.
Yeah. Well, he sends you his best. He says he's got your address.
Could be a good time to put my house on the market, then.
Anyway, I only came in to say hello. I shan't stop.
Well, anytime you're passing, break in.
There you are. I must go. I've got to get back to a board meeting.
Bye, George.
Oh, how's the old writing gang going, by the way?
Plodding on. Prickly Peter's still with us, just about.
Very popular he was inside.
Really?
In the adult literacy classes. Well, I must go. Hope I don't see you again.
Bye, George. Stay out of trouble. How does he do it?
Come on, Stag, where you been?
I'm not late. There's another 5 minutes.
Well, go and get your brown coat on, get your forklift out, and let's get this trailer unloaded, will ya? Otherwise, we're going to have all the retailers on our backs going, eh?
Yes, Mr. Gray.
Big Benjamin the bear. No. Dodgy Donald. Dodgy Donald the donkey. Crazy Carol the camel. Ooh!
Yeah. What's it used to say now, George? That bloke on the telly? Oh, yeah. Loads of money. Loads of money. There you are, George. Like that. Wow.
Why don't you go out and sit in the kiddies' garden, Brooksy, with some crisps and lemonade? Come back when you're grown up.
Not bad for a night's work, eh, George? How much you making these days?
Yeah, in sales and distribution. The retail trade. Vroom, vroom, vroom. Yeah, we thought they'd given you a BMW, George. We didn't realise it was a Honda with a gas cylinder on the back.
It's a pub here, lads. If you want the creche and nappy changing, you ought to try mother care.
Of course, you can't do your safe-cracking work no more, can you, George? You've lost that vital item of equipment. What's it called again? Oh, yeah, your bottle.
Listen, Sonny, anything you put down, I can match it. And more. No trouble.
All right. There's $2.50, George. There you are. Match it. You can have it. Go on, then. What are you waiting for?
I'll be right back with it. I'll be right back.
Oh, yeah, and I'll be holding my breath.
Hey, George, do you want to borrow a £5 for your bus fare? We don't mind giving you a bit of pocket money.
What do you mean? Give me my money. Right.
This is, my lord, I'm glad to say, a plain and straightforward matter that faces us today.
Oh, not another.
Certainly the simple, not the cryptic crossword, my lord, whose clues point but to one obvious solution.
Good, we'll get on with it, Mr. Triggs. Some members of the jury are quite elderly folk, and pacemaker batteries don't last forever.
What we have before us here, my lord, is truly a chronicle of turpitude, a catechism of crime, my lord, an arm-long list of lamentations, a veritable...
Ragbag of old clichés, my lord.
A restaurant menu of shame, my lord. For starters, we have one forklift truck, likely knocked off. Next, we have one cash point wall safe, a takeaway job. And for pudding, we have the accused, the safe, and the theft of the entire contents. Yes, my lord, a very fine cheese and biscuits indeed.
Alleged cheese and biscuits, my lord.
The contents, my lord, are worth some £30,000, and having removed them, the accused then had the impudence to return the safe to the wall of the MCP bank, whither he had stolen it and whence he was returning it.
Whence he had stolen it and whither he was returning it, my lord. Counsel, as usual, doesn't know his withers from his whences.
Whether he does or he doesn't, Mrs. Troy, is quite irrelevant. Now, you say he returned it, Mr. Triggs.
Yes, my lord, and there he would have left it and made his getaway had it not been for the sharp-eyed vigilance of the police officers who saw him and apprehended him. I should like to call my first witness, my lord, P.C. Robertson.
Call D.C. Doberman.
Mr. Stanley, have you ever thought the time may have come to make way for a younger man?
Sorry, my lord.
A younger man?
Yes, my lord. Oh, I understand. Call Princess Anne.
Now, can you relate to us, Constable, the events of March the 3rd last?
Yes, sir. I was in a patrol car with my colleague P.C. Fairley, and we'd stopped at the Crunchy Kipper fish bar, sir, for the purposes of purchasing fish and chips.
And why was that, Constable?
We were hungry, sir.
I see. So already we have logic in your every move. Continue.
We sat eating the chips with the wooden forks as supplied, whereupon my colleague diverted my attention to a vehicle approaching slowly towards us.
And can you recall exactly what was said?
Yes, sir. He said, "My, oh my, Robert, how very unusual. That would appear to be a forklift truck approaching, or are my eyes deceiving me?" I looked for myself, sir, and his eyes were not deceiving him, for I also saw a forklift truck carrying what looked like a cash point wall safe on its forks.
Do you see the driver of that truck in court today?
The accused, sir.
Thank you, Constable. No further questions.
Constable, when you saw the accused driving a forklift truck with a wall safe upon it, what were your immediate thoughts?
My initial thoughts were that he had probably stolen it.
I see. So even before you had stopped and talked to the accused, you were already prejudiced against him?
No, I would have said I had an open mind, though I did entertain my suspicions.
If you saw someone driving a car transporter with 6 cars on the back, would you assume that they had stolen those cars?
Well, no, but...
Yet simply because my client was driving a forklift truck with a safe on it, you assumed that he had stolen that safe.
Well, yes, but there were other clues.
Oh, and what clues were these, Constable, that brought out the Sherlock Holmes in you?
The hole in the wall of the bank, for one thing. The trail of bricks up the road for another.
Well, far be it from me to criticise the police, but I would have thought, in view of the increasing amount of serious crime, that they had better things to do than to harass innocent motorists out for a quiet evening's drive on their forklift truck.
My lord, this line of questioning does seem somewhat tangential.
I rather think what counsel intends by tangential is elliptical, my lord.
Whether it is elliptical or tangential, all seems rather peripheral to me, Mrs. Troy.
Well, that's pretty typical. So, officer, you stopped the accused, and what did you say to him?
I requested to see his documents, but he said he did not have them on him, but would present them at the station. We then exchanged some pleasantries about the weather, and I then casually asked, so as not to put him on his guard, if that was not a cash point wall safe he had there on his forklift truck. He denied this, saying no, it was his piggy bank. I took this to be a facetious answer and decided then to caution him.
And when you stopped the accused, Constable, was he driving towards or away from the bank?
He was driving towards it.
Yet if someone has really stolen something, don't they usually run away from the scene of the crime?
It is customary felonious practice, ma'am, yes.
And what reason did Mr. Stagg give for not running away?
He said he was returning the safe to the bank, that he had only borrowed it to take it home and to get his own money out of it.
And when you looked inside the safe, how much money was in there?
Nothing. It was empty.
And you searched the accused, his person and his premises?
We did, but we could find nothing there either.
Thank you, Constable. No further questions.
I wish to call Mr. David McNamara, my lord.
Call Mr. Scarlett O'Hara.
Mr. McNamara, would you tell us your occupation, please?
Yes, I'm manager of the High Street branch of the MCP Bank. I also do a little lay preaching work, sir, and I'm a teetotal non-smoker and strict absolutely chapel.
Admirable, Mr. McNamara, admirable. For the righteous shall be exalted, as the good book says.
And the rough ways shall be made smooth, sir.
Yet the way of the transgressor is hard, Mr. McNamara.
For the price of wisdom is above rubies.
If I may interject with a quote from the Bible myself, my lord.
Oh, yes, please, Mrs. Troy.
Jesus wept, my lord.
Amen to that, Mrs. Troy. Mr. McNamara, you're rather young to be a bank manager, aren't you? Or are bank managers like policemen just starting to look that way?
Yes, I am, sir. Our youngest ever manager, in fact. I have that honour. Though I'm sure that compared to your lordship, these are somewhat modest achievements.
Crawler.
Well, McNamara, rather an unusual name for a Welshman.
Possibly, my lord, but we lived in Cardiff, you see.
Mr. Triggs.
Now, Mr. McNamara, had you been on duty the day the alleged robbery was committed?
Yes, I had.
And are you responsible for filling the cash point machine with cash?
Well, it's more of a junior's job, usually. But handling all that money can be a temptation, so I normally do it myself.
And how much money did you put in the machine on that Friday night?
£30,000 in 20s, 10s and 5s.
And according to the transaction roll in the machine, how much money had been removed?
None of it. The delivery mechanism must have jammed that it was only giving out balances.
You will find copies of the transaction roll, my lord, as Exhibit A.
Oh, I have it as Exhibit C, Mr. Triggs.
I have it as Exhibit F, G and W, my lord.
I haven't got it at all.
Well, can you speak to your office, Mr. Triggs, and let them have a copy of the alphabet? I believe it's available at all reputable stations.
Listed under A, my lord. A, as in amateur.
Thank you, Mrs. Troy. My apologies, my lord. It won't happen again. No further questions.
Mr. McNamara, is the accused known to you?
Yes, I remember when he came to us to open his account.
And was his a good account?
It was usually in credit, yes. Though I wouldn't say large sums of money passed through it or anything. It wasn't a prestige account. He was only a forklift truck driver.
As opposed to what, Mr. McNamara? A non-smoking, teetotal, strict, absolutely chapel bank manager, perhaps?
I just mean it was a very modest account, ma'am. But there's no harm in being humble, for the humble will be exalted, you see.
And the first shall be last, my lord, and the last shall be first.
Sounds like a case for a steward's inquiry to me, Mr. Triggs. Mrs. Troy?
My lord. So the 30,000 was in the cash point, and yet no transactions took place because the machine had jammed.
I presume that is what happened.
But if the machine can jam shut, Mr. McNamara, isn't it equally possible that it could have jammed open?
No, it's extremely unlikely. Machines, as you may have noticed, don't often go wrong in the customer's favour.
Thank you, Mr. McNamara. No further questions.
My lord, in
Perhaps
Ezekiel
we'll have
3...
lunch now, Mr. Triggs. Now, if anyone in the jury is wishing to eat out, I can heartily recommend Sombreros, the new Mexican restaurant, where the refried beans and chili in the basket make for the most memorable lunch. Resume it too? Court will rise. Insufficient funds? Do you know who I work for?
So we were sending him up a bit, really. Taking a bit of a rise, like the old baking soda.
And why was that, Mr. Brooks?
Well, he was always blagging on in the past. He was always the big man, back in his safe-cracking days.
My lord!
Yes, members of the jury, disregard that last remark by the witness. Confine yourself to answering counsel's questions, please, Mr. Brooks.
Thought I was.
So what else happened, Mr. Brooks, in the bar?
Oh, we were larking around, like, doing loads of money and all that.
Loads of money, my lord. He's waving large sums of money about.
Thank you, Mr. Triggs. I'm sure as a barrister you'd know all about that.
So he starts getting a bit shirty. So I puts this money down on the table and I says to him, well, if you can match that then, George, you can have it. Only he couldn't, could he? So he goes storming off, saying he'd be back in a minute with more than you've ever dreamed of. Next thing we know, it's in the papers.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks.
Any time.
Mr. Brooks, what is your current occupation?
Me? I'm unemployed. I mean, I've looked, but there's nothing much round in my line.
Oh, what is your line?
Nothing, really.
And are you in receipt of income support, Mr. Brooks?
Yeah?
You find that easy to live on?
You must be joking.
Not really, Mr. Brooks, no. Now, you say that when you were in the pub, you upset the accused by brandishing a large wad of money.
That's right. Green as a parrot he was.
As you're unemployed and on state benefit, Mr. Brooks, where did the wad of money come from?
Eh?
Where did you get the money that you were flashing around so extravagantly?
Oh, well, I don't rightly remember.
Oh, in that case, do you remember where you're due to be a week from today?
What?
Aren't you due to be in these very courts on a charge of breaking and entering into a local off-licence?
My lord,
In light of what's already passed, I think counsel can continue.
Well, Mr. Brooks?
Yeah, maybe.
A charge to which you intend to plead guilty?
Yeah, maybe. But I didn't do it.
Oh, you didn't do it, but you're still pleading guilty.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's very obliging, Mr. Brooks, to be willing to say whatever's required of you, whether it's true or not. And have the police not agreed to drop other, more serious charges against you in return for your giving evidence in this case here today?
My lord, I object most strenuously.
Let the witness answer the question.
Well, it's still a truth, whatever.
Thanks, Mr. Brooks. That's all.
Any time.
And that concludes the case for the Crown, my lord, most convincingly, I think.
Let's wait for the umpire's decision, shall we, Mr. Triggs?
My lord.
Your turn at the crease, Mrs. Troy.
If I may call Mr. George Stagg, my lord. So you merely wish to take what was rightfully your own money and then return the safe to its owner?
That's it.
And when you got the safe to your garage and opened it, what did you find?
Nothing. It was empty. There wasn't even a fiver in there.
So, Mr. Stagg, what was your reaction on finding the safe empty?
I was livid, like when I took it from the wall. I was just so angry. I mean, 8 months now, I've gone to work and I've saved and I couldn't even get my own hard-earned money out. I mean, I just couldn't believe the dumb insolence of this machine. I just snapped.
You just snapped, Mr. Stagg, did you? Well, I can't say I condone it, but I think these are feelings we can all understand. Go.
When I finally opened it and found it was empty, well, it seemed to me I'd gone over the top a bit, really, and I wished I hadn't done it.
So you took the safe back?
Yeah, I was going to stick it back in the wall, then go round the bank in the morning and offer to repair the brickwork.
My client is a skilled amateur bricklayer, my lord, along the lines of Winston Churchill.
Oh, I remember him well, Mrs. Troy, for his victory salutes, which often in heavy traffic I've had occasion to emulate. As I believe you did yourself this morning when turning left at the traffic lights.
Oh, that was your lordship on the inside. I beg your lordship's pardon. I was unaware that he was allowed to drive in the bus lane. Thank you, Mr. Stagg. No further questions.
So, Mr. Stagg, the safe was empty, you would have us believe.
I'd have you believe the truth, and that's the truth.
A lot of money, £30,000, Mr. Stagg. Some might think it a sum worth going to prison for.
Then they can't put much of a value on their liberty, then.
Is it the simple truth, Mr. Stagg, that the money was in the safe all along, that you took it and hid it, and then you returned the empty safe whence you had taken it, as part of an elaborate charade, as if to say only a truly innocent man could act in such a fashion.
Just because you opened the tin doesn't mean you ate the biscuits.
Well, if you didn't take the biscuit, Mr. Stagg, your story certainly takes several packets of them. No further questions. I thought that bit about the biscuits was rather good.
It's an ingrowing thumbnail, apparently. They'd never seen one before. And then I'm due at the ear, nose and throat specialist next week. He's going to take a look at my knee.
Yes, well, I'll go home and work on my closing speech, I suppose.
Yes, if only the money would turn up. I think we'd be all right if it wasn't for the money.
Everything would be all right, Arthur, if it wasn't for the money. Hey, watch where you're going!
Stupid young idiot! Did you see that, Mrs. Troy? Another 3 inches. We'd have been transplants.
Did you see what it was?
It was a Porsche, wasn't it?
How many dealerships are there around here?
Oh, no more than one, I wouldn't imagine.
I think I might find out where it is and go round there.
Mrs. Troy, don't you think you're a little...
Little what?
Well, a little old for that sort of thing.
What sort of thing?
Sports cars.
Not at all. You're never too old, Arthur. For anything. And can you get 2 men in raincoats round to court in the morning? Mr. Sheriff, could you tell the court your occupation?
Excuse me, I have to go, sir. Yes, I have a car dealership selling high-performance sports cars. Porsche, Lamborghini, so on. You won't get a better price anywhere.
And do you remember a sale you made last March?
Yes, I sold a second-hand Porsche on March the 10th. There was 6 months warranty with that, and a free set of rubber mats, and membership of the AA breakdown service. It's true.
March the 10th, the week after the incident with the safe, my lord. How much did you sell the car for, Mr. Sheriff?
Well, it was marked at 35,000, but I let it go for 30. I was robbing myself, but what can you do?
And how were you paid for it?
Unusually in cash.
Cash?
Yes, a lot of it, in small notes too, 20s, 10s and 5s. I remember it because it wouldn't all fit in the one carrier bag. Though it all went through the books, of course.
Did the purchaser explain why he was paying in cash?
He said he'd won it at the races.
What kind of a man was he?
Young Welsh bloke with a bow tie.
Did you see the man who bought the car in court today, Mr. Sheriff?
Yes.
Is it the accused?
No, it's that gentleman sitting there in the public gallery.
Mr. McNamara, Mr. Sheriff.
Well, it's not the name I had, my lord, but that's him.
Didn't take it. I was going to pay it back. It was only a loan. It wasn't me. I'm strict chapel.
Sit down, Mr. McNamara. Mrs. Troy, Mr. Triggs. I have a mind we cannot continue with this charge.
So how did you know it was him, Mrs. Troy?
Providence and bad driving. But they'd have found him out sooner or later. People like that are born to be caught.
Yeah, I mean, stealing, that's one thing. But blaming someone else, that's not ethical.
What can you expect? Bank managers?
Thanks again. That's what I like about you, Mrs. Troy. You keep on persevering where others would have gone home. It's known when they're bluffing, eh? That's the secret.
Yes, it probably is. Cheers, George.
Yes.
Hello, Philippa.
Hello.
Sorry I'm late. Had one of our important authors on the phone. Have you ordered?
No, not yet.
Now, about Prickly Peter, we thought that maybe we could
I was going to ring you, actually, Heather. You see, I've had an offer from another publisher.
Oh?
Yes, he said he'd be delighted to have a major author like me on his lists. He thinks Prickly Peter is the doyen of children's hedgehogs, and he returns my phone calls.
Oh, well, actually, Philippa, I mean, let's not do anything in a hurry. In fact, I was going to offer to increase your royalty.
But I thought you wanted to decrease it.
Oh, no, that was some temp in the office. How about signing for another 3 books?
Well, I could, I suppose. I do have this new character I want to develop. He's called Dodgy Di the Dormouse, and he opens a new woodland bank.
Oh, that sounds very good, yes.
He wears a bow tie. He's strict chapel, you see.